Welcome back to the deep dive. We're here again, digging through some really successful, time-tested ideas to give you that shortcut to knowing what works.
That's right.
And today, wow, we are tearing into a pile of material focused on, well, maybe the biggest peace killer in modern life: chronic worry, anxiety.
Yeah,
We've got this fantastic collection of wisdom, sort of like ancient recipes, promising not just to manage worry, but giving you actual blueprints to, well, maybe eliminate it.
And that word actionable.
Yeah.
That's absolutely the heart of it. I mean, the sources we look at, they're super clear. The main problem isn't that we don't know the golden rule or these ancient truths. Most of us get the basics intellectually.
Right. We've heard it before.
Exactly. The issue is inaction. It's just not doing it. We know the theory, but we don't apply it.
So the goal here isn't just more information.
Nope. Not at all. It's about maybe giving you that little nudge, or like the source said, a kick in the shins to actually do something with this stuff. We're distilling the core strategies to break that anxiety loop and, really start living.
That's the mission then, moving past just knowing worry is bad to understanding the specific, repeatable things you can do to stop it. So let's start with the tough part. Why is this so incredibly critical? What's anxiety actually costing you? Hashtag should too. The devastating cost of anxiety, the why.
Yeah.
Right, to really get motivated for the cure, we need to face the real costs, the crushing weight of this constant emotional strain.
Yeah.
And what hits you first is, this isn't just in your head. Worry isn't just feeling bad. It's physical. Deeply physical.
It really is. We're talking psychosomatic medicine here.
Yeah.
The idea that the mind and body, they're not separate. They're one system, indivisible.
And that's not some new age idea, is it?
Not at all. Even Plato, way back when he saw it.
Yeah.
He said the greatest mistake physicians make is that they attempt to cure the body without attempting to cure the mind.
Yet the mind and body are one. I remember reading that.
Exactly. And for ages, Western medicine kind of ignored that, right?
Yeah.
Treated the body like a machine separate from thoughts and feelings.
Yeah.
But these sources, they confirm what the ancients knew all along. Your feelings.
Yeah.
They can literally make you sick or even kill you.
And the stats are just staggering. The Mayo brothers, you mentioned them before.
Yeah, famous clinicians.
Yeah.
After years and years of seeing patients,
What did they find?
they basically concluded that more than half the hospital beds in America are filled by people suffering from nervous troubles.
Half. That's enormous.
It is. And here's the really wild part, the proof of Plato's point. When they looked at the nerves of these patients, after they died under a microscope,
Yeah.
the nerves looked perfectly healthy.
Wow. So it wasn't the nerve tissue itself breaking down.
Nope. The cause wasn't physical decay. It was the constant, invisible attack of negative emotions. Futility, frustration, anxiety, fear, despair. All that stuff.
So worry puts your body in a constant state of emergency, like fight or flight all the time.
Precisely. Your brain keeps pumping out stress hormones, cortisol, adrenaline. Your body just isn't built for that long term.
And that leads to...
Well, think about it. Chronic high blood pressure, inflammation everywhere, digestive systems going haywire. Those are the physical results of a mind constantly sounding the alarm.
The sources list specific illnesses too, right? Dr. Podolsky mentioned some.
It's a sobering list.
Yeah.
High blood pressure, rheumatism, serious heart problems, ulcers, stomach issues in general.
Even things like catching more colds.
Yep. Colds, thyroid problems, even some types of diabetes. Worry isn't just a bad mood. It's like actual poison seeping into your system.
And it gets even darker than chronic illness.
It does. The material points to worry and fear as likely contributors to, well, insanity.
Scary thought.
And maybe the most shocking statistic we found, it's about mortality. More Americans kill themselves each year than die from the top 5 communicable diseases combined.
That's hard to even process.
It really is. It just hammers home how dangerous these internal, unchecked emotional storms can be. Often, the biggest threats aren't out there. They're inside our own heads.
You see that mind-body link so clearly in some of the stories too, like General Grant during the Civil War.
Oh yeah, that's a classic example. He was suffering from this terrible, incapacitating headache during the siege of Richmond. Just intense pressure.
Right, and then
an officer brings him a note. News that the Confederates had been defeated. Lee's forces were done. Victory.
then the headache.
Gone. Instantly. Grant himself wrote that the moment he read it, he was cured.
Wow. Just like flipping a switch.
Exactly. The paralyzing tension, the fear, the doubt, poof, replaced by relief, confidence, achievement. The physical symptom vanished because the emotional stressor was gone.
And you can see the opposite too, right? The businessman who worried himself into diabetes.
Yeah, that's the flip side. When the stock market dropped, his blood sugar spiked. Stress was literally turning into disease in his body.
And that final statistic about doctors.
Oh yeah, the stress penalty. Doctors, living these incredibly tense, high-stakes lives, they die from heart failure 20 times more often than farm workers.
20 times.
It's stark. William James summed it up brutally. The Lord may forgive us our sins, but the nervous system never does.
Okay, so point taken. Worry isn't trivial. It's a serious threat to our physical well-being, to our survival.
Absolutely. Understanding that cost is step one.
So now that we get the why, let's dive into the how. What's the first strategy to stop this bleeding?
Okay, so given how huge this problem is, how our nerves are just constantly firing, the first actionable strategy we pulled from the sources is surprisingly simple, conceptually anyway, but really hard to actually do consistently.
Okay.
It was made famous by Sir William Osler, one of the great medical minds of his time.
Right, Osler. And he figured this out early on when he was still a student.
Yeah, exactly. As a young medical student, he was apparently just consumed by anxiety about the future.
Yeah.
You know, passing exams, starting a practice, how would he make a living? Just constant worry.
Sounds familiar for a lot of people.
Totally. His big turning point came when he read this one sentence, just 21 words, that completely changed his outlook and led to this famous speech he gave at Yale.
And he used an analogy, right? Something about a ship.
Yeah, a great ocean liner.
Yeah.
He said, think of a human being like this amazing ship on a long, difficult voyage.
Okay.
Now, to keep the ship safe, it's built with mechanisms to seal off different sections into watertight compartments. So if one part gets damaged, floods. The rest of the ship stays safe.
Right, I get that. Like on the Titanic. Well, theoretically.
Right, exactly. So his advice to the students and to us is to learn to control our own internal machinery, to live in day-tight compartments.
Day-tight compartments. What does that mean practically?
It means you learn to metaphorically push a button and seal off the past. All the dead yesterdays, the failures, the regrets you can't change anyway, shut the door on them.
Yeah. Seal off the past and the future.
Push another button.
Yeah.
Seal off the future. The unborn tomorrows. All those worries about what might happen, the potential disasters that are just theoretical right now.
So there you're left with.
Just today. The only time you can actually act and be effective is right now, today.
Yeah.
Live fully within the boundaries of this single 24-hour period.
Okay, but here's where I could see people pushing back. Does that mean just ignore the future, don't plan, don't save for retirement? That sounds irresponsible.
Yes. And that's the crucial point. Osler was really clear about this nuance. It's where people misunderstand it.
Okay.
He absolutely did not mean don't prepare for tomorrow. Planning, budgeting, setting goals, that's constructive mental work. That's necessary.
So what's the difference between planning and worrying?
It's about energy and focus.
Yeah.
Worry is destructive emotional work. It drains you. Planning is constructive mental work. It builds. The source material hammers this home. The best possible way to prepare for the future is to pour all your intelligence, all your energy, all your enthusiasm into doing today's work superbly today.
Got it. So it's about not letting future fears paralyze you today. Don't waste today's limited energy carrying yesterday's baggage and tomorrow's anxieties.
Exactly. You'd allocate your resources effectively. Just handle today.
There's that story about the salesman, right, in Missouri?
Oh, yeah, the traveling salesman out of Versailles, Missouri. Perfect example. He was apparently deeply lonely, totally discouraged, just plagued by fears.
Like what?
Losing his car, not making rent, couldn't afford food, worried about getting sick. The dread of tomorrow was so intense he was actually thinking about suicide.
Wow. Paralyzed by a future that hadn't even happened.
Totally. But then he stumbled across this sentence. Every day is a new life to a wise man.
Every day is a new life. I like that.
He did too. He typed it up, stuck it right there on his car's windshield where he'd see it constantly, and he made this fierce promise to himself. Just live one day at a time. Just this day.
And did it work?
It changed everything for him. By focusing only on the present, making this sales call good, finding food for today, managing today's money, he found his courage again. He stopped obsessing over those future phantoms and past mistakes. And applying just that one simple principle, living in that day-tight compartment, he beat his fear of loneliness, his fear of ruin. He got his enthusiasm back, found peace, and built this confidence that he could handle whatever came his way. Because he only had to handle it for, 12 hours at a time.
That's powerful. And there was another story, even more dramatic, about Edward Evans, the guy who lost his business.
Yeah, Evans built up a successful business, then boom, financial crash. Lands him $16,000 in debt, which was a fortune back then. Ruinous.
And the worry made him sick.
Severely ill. He ended up bedridden, boils turning inward. The works. Doctors basically gave him 2 weeks to live.
Jeez. So what happened?
Well, first shock, obviously. But then exhaustion. It was like with the end seemingly inevitable, that desperate internal fight, the struggle to save the business, it just stopped. He gave up worrying about it.
He just accepted it.
He relaxed. And for the first time in weeks, he slept like a baby. His body, finally free from that constant internal tension, just started to heal itself.
And he recovered?
Completely. He realized later that life is in the living, in the tissue of every day and hour. The huge insight was that the worrying, the constant fighting against what seemed inevitable, that was what was killing him more than the illness itself.
So the moment he accepted the worst and stopped struggling, he sealed off the past failure and the future doom. His body could actually repair itself.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
Living in that day-tight compartment, even in the face of catastrophe, allowed recovery.
Okay, so rule 1, day-tight compartments, that's about preventing anxiety over those vague future what-ifs. But what about problems that aren't vague? Problems that are staring you right in the face right now?
Right. Excellent question. And that leads us perfectly to rule 2, the next major strategy. This one gives you a concrete structure for tackling existing problems. It's called Willis H. Carrier's magic formula.
Willis Carrier, the air conditioning guy.
The very same.
Yeah.
He developed this technique after a pretty major professional screw-up that caused him intense sleepless worry.
Right.
Well, he was working for the Buffalo Forge Company back then. They'd installed this new, really expensive gas cleaning system for a client in Missouri. Cost something like $20,000.
Okay.
And it just didn't work. Failed to meet the guarantee. It was a huge potential loss for the company, a big blow to his reputation. He was losing sleep, constantly thinking about it. Felt like his insides were, as he put it, twisted and turned.
Yeah, I think we've all felt that twisting feeling. So how did he get out of it?
Common sense eventually kicked in, really.
Yeah.
He realized the worrying wasn't solving anything,
Yeah.
just making him sick. So he developed this simple but incredibly effective 3-step method. It forces you out of that emotional tailspin and into logical analysis.
Okay, 3 steps. What are they?
They're designed to basically hit rock bottom mentally, fast, get stable, and then figure out how to climb back up. Step 1.
Yeah.
Step 1, analyze and determine the worst. You have to fearlessly, honestly look the problem square in the eye and figure out what is the absolute worst thing that could possibly happen.
Okay, face the worst. So for Carrier.
For Carrier, the worst was basically 2 things. 1, he could lose his job. 2, his company could lose the entire $20,000 investment.
That takes some guts, right, to really stare that possibility down instead of avoiding it.
It does. It requires real intellectual courage. Stop hiding from the potential catastrophe. Face the monster, as you said.
Okay, so you figure out the worst. Then what? Step 2.
Step 2 is arguably the hardest, but the most crucial. Reconcile and accept the worst. You mentally prepare yourself to accept that worst-case outcome if it becomes necessary.
Accept it. Like, be okay with losing your job or the company losing 20 grand.
Mentally, yes. Prepare for it. For Carrier, he reasoned it through. Okay, if I lose my job, it'll suck, but I can eventually find another one. And the Buffalo Forge Company, they're big enough they can absorb a $20,000 loss, chalk it up to R&D. He made peace with that possibility.
Okay, I have to jump in here. Isn't accepting the worst just giving up? Like throwing in the towel? People admire fighters, right? Those who never surrender. How does acceptance, which sounds like surrender, actually help?
That is the million-dollar question. And it's the psychological trick that so many people miss. You're right, it sounds like surrender. But what it actually achieves is emotional stabilization.
Right. Explain that.
When you're desperately resisting something that might be inevitable, your mind just spins and spins, right? Trying frantically to find an escape route that maybe doesn't even exist, that generates all this destructive mental friction that twisting and turning Carrier felt.
Right. Panic mode.
Exactly. But the moment you genuinely say, okay, this is the absolute worst. It would be bad, but I can survive it. I accept this possibility. The spinning stops. You've hit solid ground mentally. All the energy that was being burned up by panic, by denial, by resistance, it's suddenly freed up, available.
That's really interesting. It's like draining the emotional swamp so you can actually see the path forward.
Perfectly put. You drain the swamp of fear. And that calm clarity, that freed up energy, allows you to move effectively to the final step.
Which is
Step 3. Improve upon the worst. Now that you're calm and reconciled, you dedicate all that time and energy you saved from worrying to actively trying to improve on that worst-case scenario you've already accepted. You work to prevent the loss or minimize it.
So because Carrier got calm by accepting the potential loss.
He could actually think clearly. He focused on constructive action, went back to the problem, and ultimately found a technical solution. He figured out how to spend an extra $5,000 on new equipment that made the gas cleaning system work, saving the company the other $15,000 and obviously saving his job.
Wow. So acceptance wasn't surrender. It was the key to finding the solution.
Precisely. It unlocked the mental resources needed to solve the problem.
We see this formula pop up elsewhere too, right? Like that story about the oil dealer facing blackmail.
Oh, absolutely. The New York oil dealer. His truck drivers had apparently been doing some shady side deals, shorting customers. Then this guy shows up claiming to be a government inspector. Yeah. Demands hush money, threatens to expose everything, and ruin the dealer's father's business, a business he built for 24 years.
Nightmare scenario.
Total nightmare. The dealer was terrified, losing sleep, going crazy, until he remembered Carrier's formula.
So, step 1.
Worst case. Business ruined, family name disgraced, maybe even legal trouble.
Step 2. Acceptance.
He reconciled himself to it, thought, okay, if the worst happens, it's devastating, but we'll survive, we'll start over somehow. He accepted that rock bottom.
And the panic subsided.
Instantly, the frantic energy disappeared.
Which allowed step 3.
Calm action.
Calm strategic action. His lawyer advised him, don't pay, don't hide, go straight to the district attorney, lay it all out.
Which he did.
He did, and he was stunned. The DA listened, looked at the details, and basically said, oh, that guy. He's no inspector. He's a professional con artist. We've been looking for him.
No way.
Yeah. The whole crisis evaporated in minutes, solved not by panic or paying the blackmailer, but by calmly facing the worst, accepting it, and then taking clear, decisive action. That's incredible. And then there's the even more extreme story. Earl P. Haney. The guy told he was dying.
Oh, Haney's story is just mind-blowing. Diagnosed with a severe stomach ulcer, doctors basically told him, get your affairs in order. He was dying.
So step 1, worst case, death. Step 2, acceptance. How do you accept that?
Well, Haney took it to the extreme. He literally went out and bought himself a coffin. He made arrangements. He fully reconciled himself to his fate.
Wow.
But here's the amazing twist. Once he truly accepted death, once he let go of the fight, his perspective shifted entirely. He thought, okay, if I'm dying anyway, I might as well enjoy what little time I have left.
So what did he do?
Everything the doctors told him not to do. Started drinking highballs, smoking cigars, eating all the rich, spicy foods he'd been forbidden. He decided to travel, see the world, just live it up.
He started living because he figured he had nothing left to lose.
Exactly. And the result, this profound relaxation, the shift away from worry and fear towards enjoyment, it saved his life.
You're kidding.
Not kidding. The worry, the stress that had been the real killer, fueling the ulcer. When he let go, his body started healing. He gained 90 pounds, realized the illness was largely psychosomatic.
And the coffin.
Sold it back to the undertaker, lived for years afterward, never sick a day like that again. It's maybe the ultimate proof that accepting the inevitable, even death itself, can paradoxically free up the energy needed to live by stopping the self-destructive internal resistance. #TAG-V, action, organization, and mental habits. Rules 3, 5, 6, 7.
Okay, we've talked about managing future fears and tackling current problems. Now let's shift gears a bit towards more immediate disciplines, physical and mental habits.
Right. If worry thrives in inaction and sort of mental chaos, then the next set of rules are all about structured activity and order, getting things moving, getting organized.
And the first one seems pretty straightforward. Keep busy.
Yeah, rule 3 is basically crowd worry out of your mind by keeping busy.
It comes down to like the physics of the mind.
Physics of the mind. Yeah, the mind hates a vacuum. When it's idle, when it's not actively engaged in something constructive, it tends to get filled up. And what fills it? Often it's those primal negative emotions. Worry, fear, hate, envy, jealousy. They just rush in.
So an idle mind really is the devil's workshop in a way.
Kind of. One professor, Marcel, compared an unoccupied mind to an engine running without any load on it. It just races faster and faster, overheats, and threatens to shake itself apart or burn out.
That makes sense. Inactivity leads to too much thinking, and too much thinking can easily turn into anxious thinking.
Exactly. Action becomes the therapy. It's the antidote. Think about Winston Churchill during World War II. Darkest days, immense pressure.
Right.
Working like 18 hours a day. Someone asked him if he worried about all that responsibility. His answer was pure pragmatism.
What did he say?
I'm too busy. I have no time for worry.
Just crowded it out.
Crowded it out with purposeful action. But it's not just about frantic movement. It's about mental absorption. Like Louis Pasteur, the great scientist. He talked about the peace that is found in libraries and laboratories. Why? Because people in those places are usually so absorbed in their work, their experiments, their research. They don't have the mental bandwidth left over to fret about themselves or their existential angst.
Or Admiral Byrd in Antarctica.
Perfect example. Stuck alone in that crushing darkness for 5 months. Utter isolation. How did he keep his sanity?
Kept busy.
He created endless tasks for himself.
Oh.
Observing weather, fixing equipment, writing detailed notes. Anything to keep his mind fully, completely engaged. Busyness was his lifeline.
There was that story, too, about the stenographer who was always tired.
Yeah, the board stenographer.
Yeah.
Constantly exhausted, worried, until she got a second job as a saleswoman, something that kept her mentally and physically busy every hour.
And the result?
Suddenly, she wasn't exhausted anymore. She'd fall into bed at night and just be out like a light. No time, no energy left for worrying. Busyness forces your mind into the present moment.
Okay, so keeping busy helps. But just being busy doing anything isn't the whole picture, right? You can be busy and still feel overwhelmed and stressed.
Absolutely. Disorganized effort, frantic multitasking.
Yeah.
That creates its own kind of fatigue and tension. Charles Evans Hughes said something like, it's not overwork that kills people, it's wasted energy from confusion and tension.
Right.
So the sources highlight 4 really practical working habits to prevent that kind of worry-inducing fatigue. Good working habits.
Okay, let's hear them. Habit 1.
Habit 1. Clear your desk. Seriously. This sounds almost laughably simple, maybe trivial.
Yeah, my desk is, well, let's not talk about my desk.
But the psychological effect of visual clutter is real, and it's significant. The advice is keep only the papers or materials related to the immediate problem you're working on right in front of you. Everything else, off the desk.
Why does that help so much?
It cuts down on visual noise, that a pile of unfinished stuff. It's a constant visual reminder of everything you haven't done. It breeds confusion, a feeling of being overwhelmed, tension, which leads to fatigue and worry. As the saying goes, order is heaven's first law. A clear desk promotes a clearer mind.
Okay, clear the desk, makes sense. Habit 2.
Habit 2. Prioritize. Do things in the order of their importance. This tackles that feeling of being swamped.
Because you don't know where to start.
Exactly. That feeling almost always comes from not knowing what to tackle first. Everything seems urgent. Henry L. Doherty, a successful businessman, apparently said this ability prioritizing was one of the 2 rarest and most valuable skills he saw in top executives.
So how do you do it?
You have to train yourself. Look at the list, identify the most crucial task, the one that will have the biggest impact or needs doing first, and attack that one. Charles Luckman, who ran Pepsodent, apparently got up at 5 a.m. every single day just to plan his day meticulously, making sure he always did first things first.
5 a.m. planning. Dedicated. Okay, habit 3.
Habit 3. Decide and act. This one combats paralysis by analysis. Wade Phillips, another successful guy, an oil man from Oklahoma, he pointed out that once you have the facts you need, continuing to just think about it beyond a certain point becomes counterproductive. It turns into harmful rumination.
So don't overthink it.
Pretty much. There comes a point where you just have to decide and act and never look back. Make the call and move. It's the anti-perfectionism rule. Stop waiting for the perfect moment or absolute certainty because it usually never comes.
This sounds like it connects back to that Simon & Schuster analysis thing you mentioned earlier.
Exactly. It links right back to that structured approach we talked about with Willis Carrier and Galen Litchfield's method that the folks at Simon & Schuster used.
Remind me of those steps again.
Sure. 1. Write down exactly what you're worrying about. Get specific. 2. Write down what you can actually do about it. List the possible solutions or actions. 3. Decide which action you're going to take. And 4. Start doing it immediately.
Just writing it down helps.
Tremendously. The act of getting it out of your head and onto paper brings amazing clarity. They found that once you laid out the facts, analyzed the options, the best course of action often just became obvious. It popped out like a piece of bread popping out from an electric toaster, as they put it. Structured thinking breaks the cycle of emotional paralysis.
Okay, that's powerful. Decide and act. What's habit 4?
This one is especially crucial if you're managing projects or people. Habit 4. Organize, deputize, supervise.
So, delegation.
Essentially, yes.
Yeah.
Smart delegation. Leaders often become worrywarts because they try to micromanage everything, carry the whole load themselves.
Guilty as charged sometimes.
Many are. The principle is, organize the work clearly. Assign tasks to people who are capable. That's the deputized part. And then, importantly, monitor the progress, supervise, without constantly interfering.
So you don't just dump it and forget it, but you don't hover either.
Exactly. It's about building systems and trusting your team. It frees you up from being bogged down in every single detail, allowing you to focus your energy on those high-priority decisions you identified back in Habit 2. It stops you from getting swamped.
Okay, those 4 habits make a lot of sense for managing current workload and preventing fatigue. What about dealing with past stuff? Mistakes, regrets.
Yes. That brings us to Rule 7, which is beautifully simple. Don't saw sawdust.
Don't saw sawdust.
Yep. Let the past bury its dead. It's about putting a stop loss on your emotional energy when it comes to things that are already over and done with.
Like crying over spilt milk.
Exactly like that. Alan Saunders told a story about his hygiene teacher who made this point dramatically. She brought a bottle of milk to class, deliberately smashed it in the sink,
Whoa!
and then shouted at the stunned students, "Don't cry over spilt milk." Her point. Once it's down the drain, gone forever, all the fussing, all the regret, all the anger in the world won't bring back a single drop.
Write it off and move on.
Write it off, forget it, go on. The past is literally sawdust. It's what's left over after the wood has been cut. You can't put the sawdust back together to make the log whole again. It's done.
So what's the constructive way to handle past mistakes then?
The only constructive thing you can do is calmly analyze what happened, learn the lesson so you don't repeat it, and then let it go. Forget it completely.
Because dwelling on it just wastes today's energy.
Precisely. You waste your present life, what Thoreau called your lifetime, agonizing over things you absolutely cannot change.
Think of that poor Aunt Edith, the source mentioned.
Oh yeah, furious 50 years later.
50 years later, still fuming because Uncle Frank took away her credit card half a century ago. She paid for that grudge with decades of her own peace. It's madness.
Like that old saying, the moving finger writes.
And, having writ, moves on. Nor all your piety nor wit shall lure it back to cancel half a line, nor all your tears wash out a word of it. You can't change it. The time to move on is always now. Okay, so we've covered handling the future, tackling present problems, getting organized, and letting go of the past. But what about those really big, heavy things in life that you simply cannot fix? Things that are truly inevitable.
Right. Rule 2 is about accepting the worst outcome of a potentially solvable problem. This next one, Rule 4, deals with accepting things that are fundamentally unchangeable. Think major loss, irreversible illness, aging, death, huge economic shifts you have no control over.
Things you just have to live with.
Exactly. This is about deep, profound acceptance. It echoes that inscription found in a 15th century cathedral in Amsterdam. Just read, "It is so, it cannot be otherwise."
It is so, it cannot be otherwise. That's stark.
It is. And when we face something truly inevitable, we basically have a choice. We can destroy ourselves citing it, kicking against the pricks, poisoning our lives with bitterness and rebellion, or we can accept it and adjust. William James, again, such wisdom there. He taught that acceptance of what has happened is the first step to overcoming the consequence of any misfortune.
How does acceptance help you overcome it?
Because the moment you stop fighting the reality, you free up enormous amounts of energy. Energy that was being wasted in futile resistance. That energy can then be redirected into finding ways to build the best possible life despite the hardship or even because of it.
Can you give an example of that?
Nature gives us a great analogy. Think about a brutal ice storm.
Okay.
The sources point out that the big, strong, proud oak trees, the ones that rigidly resisted the weight of the ice, they often split, broke, were destroyed.
Right. Too stiff.
But the pine trees, the spruce trees, the ones that bent their branches, bowed under the weight, cooperated with the inevitable force. They survived. We have to learn that wisdom, the wisdom of bending like the willow, not breaking like the oak.
So accepting isn't weakness, it's a form of resilience.
A profound form of resilience. And we see incredible examples in people who grasp this. Look at Booth Tarkington, the famous author.
What happened to him?
He started going blind, faced total blindness. And he had to endure something like 12 incredibly painful eye operations in a single year, often with only local anesthetic. Just agonizing.
Oh my God.
He realized blindness was coming. It was inevitable. And he made the conscious choice to accept it. He realized, okay, my sight is gone, but I can still live on inside my mind.
And accepting it brought him peace.
It did, remarkably. And he found that peace not by demanding special treatment or pity, but by doing something amazing. He refused a private hospital room
Why?
and chose instead to be in the public ward, trying to cheer up the other patients, making jokes, trying to lift their spirits, even as he faced his own darkness.
Wow.
He discovered that nothing life threw at him was actually unbearable, provided he accepted it first. Acceptance gave him the strength.
And this applies to smaller things too, right? Not just huge catastrophe.
Oh, absolutely. It's crucial for the small stuff, the daily emotional drains. Eleanor Roosevelt shared a story about her early marriage. A new cook messed up a meal for important guests, and apparently Eleanor worried about it for days afterwards. What would people think? The embarrassment, the social failure.
So stressful over something minor.
Totally.
Yeah.
But later in life, having learned a lot, she faced similar small mishaps and just learned to shrug her shoulders and forget it. She acted like an emotional adult about it. Worrying over trifles just drains the energy you need for the genuinely big challenges. Don't sweat the small stuff you can't change.
It all comes back to that serenity prayer, doesn't it? Grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change.
The courage to change the things I can.
And the wisdom to know the difference.
Exactly. It encapsulates this rule perfectly. And interestingly, many of the most successful business leaders quoted in the sources, people like J.C. Penney, Henry Ford, they express the same kind of, you could almost call it fatalistic wisdom.
No.
They talked about preparing meticulously, doing absolutely everything in their power, working incredibly hard. But then, once they'd done all they could, they had this ability to surrender the outcome, to accept whatever happened without agonizing. Penny put it beautifully, I do the best job I possibly can and leave the results in the laps of the gods. Cooperate with the inevitable. #7. Cultivating a positive mental attitude.
The X factor. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground managing time, problems, the past, the inevitable. Now we arrive at maybe the final and potentially the most powerful area in this whole battle against worry.
Which is?
Managing the X factor, our own internal mental attitude, what's going on inside our heads.
Because our thoughts create our reality, in a sense.
Well, Emerson certainly thought so. A man is what he thinks about all day long. If worry is essentially a bad mental habit, then peace, contentment, cheerfulness, they have to become new habits we actively cultivate.
And a lot of what we worry about isn't even real, is it? Often, no. General George Crook, who spent years fighting and negotiating with Native American tribes, he made this fascinating observation. He said, nearly all the worries and unhappiness of the Indians he knew came from their imagination and not from reality.
Fighting phantoms.
We spend so much energy fighting phantoms, things that will likely never happen.
So how do we combat those imaginary fears?
One really powerful tool is cold, hard logic, specifically applying the law of averages, statistics.
Okay, how does that work?
Take Jim Grant, the fruit distributor mentioned in the sources. He used to absolutely torture himself worrying about his refrigerated train cars getting into wrecks.
Worried about losing his cargo, ruining his market.
Exactly. The stress was so bad it gave him terrible indigestion. He was convinced he had stomach ulcers. Went to the doctor. Doctor said, nope, no ulcers. Your problem isn't physical, it's mental. You just have jumpy nerves.
So Grant decided to treat the fear itself.
Yes, but not with medicine, with math. He actually sat down and did the calculation, looked at his records over years. How many fruit cars had he shipped? Around 25,000. How many had actually been involved in a wreck?
How many?
5.
5 out of 25,000.
Yep, that's a ratio of 5,000 to 1 against a wreck happening to one of his cars.
Wow. The odds were overwhelmingly in his favor.
Totally. And Grant had this epiphany. He realized all his suffering, the constant worry, the upset stomach, the sleepless nights was based on pure imagination, not statistical reality. He'd been choosing to obsess over the tiny chance of disaster instead of trusting the overwhelming probability of safety.
And the worry stopped.
Instantly. The moment the facts stared him in the face, the fear dissolved. Confronting imaginary fears with facts and averages can be incredibly grounding.
Okay, that's great for statistical fears. What about just feeling generally down, worried, or anxious without a specific statistical cause?
For that, we turn to another fascinating psychological technique again from William James. It's the power of acting as if.
Acting as if. What does that mean?
James argued that while we often think feelings come first and then actions follow, I feel happy, so I smile, it can actually work the other way around. Action can create the feeling.
So fake it till you make it.
Essentially, yes. He said the sovereign voluntary path to cheerfulness, if you've lost yours, is to sit up cheerfully and to act and speak as if cheerfulness were already there.
How does that work biologically or psychologically?
James believed emotions often follow our physical expressions. It's physically very difficult, maybe impossible, to stay deeply depressed if you are actively, physically demonstrating all the outward signs of happiness.
So you force yourself to.
Force the physical actions. Put a big, genuine you can make it smile on your face. Throw your shoulders back, stand tall, take a deep, expansive breath. Maybe even hum or sing a cheerful little tune.
Even if you feel ridiculous doing it.
Especially if you feel ridiculous. By forcing the external behavior of happiness, you send signals back to your brain that contradict the feelings of gloom or anxiety. It helps break that negative feedback loop, potentially interrupting the stress hormone cycle.
And this actually worked for people, like that H.J. Englert guy.
Yeah, Englert's story is remarkable. Diagnosed with fatal kidney disease, nephritis. Told he didn't have long. Instead of just giving up,
He acted as if.
he consciously chose to apply this principle. He forced himself to think positive thoughts, to act cheerfully, to engage with life optimistically, despite the diagnosis.
And the outcome.
He apparently cured himself. Not only recovered, but his dangerously high blood pressure dropped dramatically. He seemed to physically manifest health by mentally and behaviorally acting as if you were already healthy and happy.
That's incredible. Okay, what else is in this mental attitude toolbox?
Another fundamental shift, gratitude. The sources strongly advocate forcing yourself, if necessary, to count your blessings.
Why is gratitude so powerful against worry?
Because worry, by its nature, focuses intensely on what you lack, what might go wrong, what you might lose. Gratitude does the exact opposite. It deliberately shifts your focus to what you have, what is good, what is safe, what you can appreciate right now.
You can't really feel worried and grateful at the exact same instant.
It's very difficult. They are almost mutually exclusive emotional states. Take Lucille Blake's story.
The women with the heart condition?
Yeah, bedridden, terrified after a serious diagnosis. Someone urged her to use her forced downtime for, spiritual reflection.
So she started counting blessings.
She forced herself. Every morning, despite the fear gripping her, she made a list. Simple things. I have no pain today. My eyesight still works. I have my daughter. I can still hear music.
And repeating that helped.
It created what she called a new sense of values. That conscious, daily act of focusing on the good, however small, gradually built up a counterweight to the fear. It shifted her entire emotional landscape.
And the J.C. Penney story is maybe the most dramatic example of this.
Absolutely. Yeah. J.C. Penney, the department store founder. During the Great Depression, he was apparently wiped out financially, broken physically, utterly despairing. Convinced he wouldn't live through the night.
At his absolute lowest point.
His absolute lowest. He wandered into a hospital chapel, empty, just sunk. But instead of praying and begging God for help, for money, for recovery, something shifted.
What happened?
He suddenly found himself pouring out his heart in thanksgiving, thanking God for the blessings he still had, for his past opportunities, for his family, just pure gratitude. He described it as an instantaneous miracle, like a physical weightlifting. Darkness turning to sunlight. He walked out of that chapel completely changed. His life, he said, freed from worry forevermore. That shift from focusing on lack to focusing on abundance was transformative.
Wow. Gratitude as a miracle cure. Okay, one last point in this section. About being yourself.
Yes. So much worry, especially social anxiety or performance anxiety, comes from a lack of self-acceptance, from trying to be someone you're not. Rule, find and be yourself.
Don't try to imitate others.
Exactly. Remember Irving Berlin, the legendary songwriter? When a young George Gershwin wanted to study with him, Berlin actually turned him down for a job.
Why?
He told Gershwin, essentially, if you work for me, you might become a second-rate Irving Berlin. But if you stick to your own path, insist on being yourself, you could become a first-rate George Gershwin.
Great advice.
It is. Trying to constantly imitate someone else, live up to some image that isn't authentic. It creates constant internal conflict and anxiety. Am I doing it right? Do they approve?
Like Edith Allred trying to be like her fancy in-laws?
Yeah, she worried herself sick trying to fit into their mold. Or Mary Margaret McBride, the radio host. Failed miserably trying to be some sophisticated Irish comedian she wasn't.
But succeeded when she was just herself.
Massively. Found huge success only when she dropped the act and embraced her true persona, a plain-spoken country girl from Missouri. When you stop wasting energy trying to do someone else and just accept and express who you truly are, you eliminate a huge, constant source of internal friction and worry.
Okay, we have covered an incredible amount of ground here. From Plato way back then to Willis Carrier's very practical 3 steps to these mental habits.
A lot, yeah.
But if we try to boil all these different recipes down, what are the core takeaways? What are the most powerful sort of common threads running through all of this?
I think two really big themes stand out, and they're deeply connected.
Okay.
First, action is the antidote. Worry thrives in a vacuum, in idleness, in rumination. Keeping busy, whether it's deep work like Churchill or just structured organization, or applying Carrier's formula, it fills the mental space and prevents fear from taking root. Action dispels anxiety.
Action as the antidote. Makes sense. What's the second theme?
Second, and this is maybe the unlock for the first one, acceptance releases the energy necessary for action.
Ah, they work together.
Absolutely. Yeah. You often have to accept the reality first. Accept the $16,000 debt like Evans. Accept the diagnosis like Haney or Tarkington. Accept the past mistake is done before you can stop wasting energy fighting it. That acceptance frees up the enormous mental and emotional resources you need to then take constructive action.
Accept, then act.
Accept, then act. There are two sides of the same coin for conquering worry.
And maybe the most encouraging takeaway for me, thinking back to General Crook and Jim Grant, is just how much of our worry is simply
Baseless.
completely baseless, built on imagination, not reality. We waste so much precious life force, so much physical energy, battling phantoms, stressing over things that statistically or logically are incredibly unlikely to ever happen.
Yeah.
Recognizing that alone can be incredibly freeing.
Yeah.
And even for the worries that are based on real problems. We come back to that core lesson of analysis and structure. Remember the Simon & Schuster folks.
Finding the answer popped out like toast. Exactly. Just by getting the facts, writing down the options, thinking it through calmly, the solution often becomes clear. Clarity leads to decision, decision leads to action, and action banishes the fear.
So we should leave our listeners with a challenge then. Something actionable based on all this.
Definitely. Here's the challenge. Sometime today, pick the one biggest worry that's actively bothering you right now. Not some vague future fear, but a specific current problem that's got you spinning.
Okay, pick one worry.
Then, grab a piece of paper and apply that four-step analysis from Galen Litchfield. Step 1. Write down exactly what you were worrying about. Be precise. Step 2. Write down everything you can possibly do about it. List all the actions. Step 3. Decide which action or combination of actions you are going to take. Make the choice. Step 4. Start doing it. Take the first step immediately.
Don't just learn it, do it.
Please, don't let the knowledge you picked up today just sit there and become another form of inaction, another thing you know but don't apply. Take that psychological kick in the shins we talked about. Embrace acceptance where needed. Take action. Start living in that day-tight compartment today.
Excellent advice. Well, thank you for digging into these sources with us for this deep dive. Really fascinating stuff.
My pleasure. Always great to explore these ideas.
And we'll talk to you all next time on The Deep Dive.